read all that. Intro. Up. Down one. Hello.
Welcome to Supernatural Sundays with Bill, Billy, and Vinny. Got a pretty cool show for you tonight. Got some supernatural news this week we want to talk about, and then we're going to have a special guest later coming on about 8 o'clock.
What's she do?
She's a psychic medium, and her name is Candace, and she's all over other social media programs right now. She's big on TikTok. About a week ago, she normally just talks to people and helps them with try to get in touch with her family, that kind of thing. And she just got this message out of the blue that she'd never got before, and the message told her that they were basically extraterrestrials or whatever, and they are coming to Earth. And she got a vision, like an image of spaceships coming on the 14th and 15th. They said they wanted her to deliver that message, and that was it. And then nothing else. So it's been on the news, and basically other people are getting the same message, and other people are seeing UFOs. Some people are seeing UFOs, they're getting messages, similar messages, and then other people are trying to, harass her and stuff because they don't believe it, because it is pretty out, it's a supernatural thing. That's what we deal with. So basically, she's getting this message, and not everybody believes her. So, but we believe in what she's doing, and we believe what she's hearing and experiencing, and we want to have her on and talk to her about what she does, and she may even try to do some live readings for us. I don't know. We'll see what kind of mood she's in tonight, if the stars are lining up or whatever, or however it works. But
yeah, and we'll get all of her info out there, stuff, so you guys can follow her on TikTok and stuff and check her out. Really super cool lady to watch. I've been watching a few of her videos through this week and stuff like that. She's informative, just awesome person to talk to.
Yeah.
So we'll go ahead and kick it off with some news.
Okay.
Yeah, scroll down.
Looks like
So this first one here, it's kind of the origins of the Skinwalker. I know you had that video out, so let's check. What do you got on there?
It's basically Native American, like a curse, and they actually have to kill some of their own family members, and then after that they can turn into dogs and wolves and birds and creatures and humans and back into creatures. But the whole thing's like a curse, and it involves some pretty horrific activity. They gotta basically murder some of their own family and stuff. Pretty messed up.
Skinwalker's been pretty big though. The last 3 years really been kind of taking off. A lot of people's talking about them, seeing some videos about them. So here's a video that we got. We'll kind of show you.
Skinwalkers are Navajo witches of both male and female who are initiated and obtain certain powers called the witchery way from the ritual of sacrificing their loved ones. This witch is known as Yenat Luchi, which translates to "with it he goes on all fours." It is one of the numerous kinds of Navajo witches and is thought to be the most volatile and deadly witchcraft. Once they possess these powers, they can shapeshift into any animal, coyotes, wolves, dogs, cats, birds, and even horses. The original skinwalkers were deadly enough to shapeshift into other humans. Skinwalker witches can live for millennia and never age. They are also known to mimic the voices of their kill. The medicine men among Navajo's Diné people are not shamans. They are more like priests who are recorded keepers of ancient knowledge. There are different types of medicine men: healers, singers, hand trembles, crystal gazers, and those who use sand paintings that can help reveal the identity of the skinwalker. Once the skinwalker's identity is revealed, they end up passing away a few weeks later. Skinwalker witches were once used for good until it started being used for evil and became corrupted over time.
Yeah, so a lot of stories and stuff, and it's all kind of just telling stuff with your. It said mainly the Navajo.
Yeah, that's pretty messed up though. You got to kill your loved ones. I don't know if I just to become a skinwalker or have that supernatural powers that you got to. I think I'd try to find a different way to do that and then have to murder my own family. That's pretty messed up.
I mean, people do a lot of crazy things for, I guess, personal gain or power.
Oh man, messed up.
So the next video, so we'll talk about real quick. So I put that on there. So it's the Goat Man, which is up in Louisville.
Pope Lick Trestle.
And Phil can kind of talk to you about that for a second, because he went up there and checked it out.
Yeah, the legend is there's a Goat Man, supernatural, like a demon type creature, whatever, and he hangs around by this Pope Lick Trestle. It's way up there. It's like 90 foot up, and there's no railing, nowhere to walk. So the thing is, the Goat Man supposedly talks you into going up there, and then once you get up there, if a train comes, you can't outrun it. You can't get off there in time, and by the time you hear the train horn, it's too late. You get hit by the train, or you jump off and die. And a lot of people go up there and commit suicide, or they get hit by a train, or they try to hang on and it shakes so bad that the people fall off. And there's only been like 2 people survived hanging on there. Everybody else has fell off or got hit by a train. One of the most recent ones was a guy on an ATV tried to ride across there. And his 4-wheeler, he flipped and got stuck and landed on him, and then train came, and that was it. But they've got a whole park up there. They've got a whole Save the Baby Goat Man escape room. They've got a Goat Man. Later on in October, I think 27th, somewhere around the 27th, they're going to have a Goat Man festival up there. It's all up on the east side of Louisville, the Pope Lick Trestle. And Goat Man's kind of like our logo for our paranormal team, our supernatural investigation squad. So we actually went there. Had a couple trains come over, got a cat ball go off. The thing actually vibrates when the trains go over.
So is that what made your cat ball hit?
That's what I think. But we had a couple other REM pods go off and stuff that weren't on the actual trestle structure itself. So we're not sure what causing that to go off.
Today we are talking about the Louisville Goat Man, the Pope Lick monster. This part man, part sheep, part goat cryptid is probably one of the scariest things outside of Louisville. Now, he has been said to roam around the Pope Lick Trestle, which rides over the Pope Lick Creek. This is about 90 feet tall, but is responsible for more than 4 deaths from people dying from oncoming trains. Now, the origin of the Pope Lick monster is still a bit of mystery, but people believe it has to deal with a farmer and his dealings with the devil. Other people theorize it is a product of bestiality, but no one can say for sure. Now, some of the lore says that this monster uses mimicry and or hypnosis to lure people onto the trestle, and then they become stuck while an oncoming train takes their life. Now, the local government actually had to issue warnings to people to stop looking for the Pope Lick monster because tragedies were happening on the Pope Lick Trestle of people passing away as they get hit by an oncoming train. Have you ever had an encounter with the Pope Lick monster? Tag a friend and let them know about this scary creature in Kentucky.
Scary creature in Kentucky.
Yeah, we got a lot of them.
You're right. So we'll go on here. So we'll kind of show you the video first, and then we'll kind of give our kind of take on it afterwards. This next one's one Phil put up.
This is a guy who's a very controversial Sasquatch researcher out in British Columbia, Alberta area, and name's Todd Standing, and he calls his Bigfoot the Sylvanic Bigfoot. He's got his own name for him. He's actually went to, I think it's Canadian Parliament, something like that. And he's tried to lobby so they will actually set aside habitat territory for Sasquatch. He's that convinced they're real, and he's been researching for years. He's way out there between BC and Alberta, and Les Stroud went out with him. Survivor Man, he went out with him for a while and did a little research, and it was inconclusive. It wasn't like, hey, we just saw Bigfoot, but there was weird stuff happen they couldn't explain. So some people think he puts on a costume and he's the one filming himself, pretending to be Sasquatch. And then there's other scientists. Dr. Bendernagel went with him, I think it was Bendernagel before he passed away, and maybe Dr. Melvin, I'm not sure. But they found footprints and some different stuff, and had one on video. Went back the next day and found footprints. So it was pretty compelling. I don't know. He's got some crazy videos where things like 10 feet away, sitting there looking at him. And then he's got another one where, like, one night he's got a fire going and these things come at him and he's screaming and battling them, like trying to keep them away because he thought he was going to get attacked.
Well, that's my only issue with a lot of that. Those when you have something that thousands upon thousands of people are constantly looking for and trying to prove, but then you're the center focus that it's always happening to you. It kind of it kind of takes away from some of that.
The one thing that's different with him is he's so far out he don't see any people out there where he's at. Like maybe a plane flies over once in a while, but nobody goes out there where he's at usually. Where he's at, even the deer and the bears, everything act different. Plus, in Canada, they're not allowed to carry weapons like we do here in the United States, so their gun laws are different. So their bears act different. They see a human, just depends on the situation. But he said, like, I'm not that sure if it's this video, but like even a deer, if it goes to drink water and there's like a lot of running water, it'll get a drink real quick and it'll haul ass. It won't sit there with its head down very long because it's thinking it's going to get eat. Where he's at, it's real easy to get ambushed by predators.
Let's check it out.
So I took about 6 or 7 steps, looked back, and it hadn't moved a millimeter. Still just there looking at me. And I waited about a minute till it blinked again, and I was like, that was a blink, that's not a rock. But he was just really calm, very curious, and very confident. He wasn't afraid of me at all. And I believe that's the same guy that I'm having all these encounters with and doing all this stuff.
That grow everywhere. You know, I think about the rhizome, it has a different application. I think about the head of it and how there's flour that comes off of it. It's like the pollen. Every one of them gives me a chance to do something different, to play, to experiment, and to really experience the outdoors.
You can't watch a survival program on TV and head out and imitate it. It's not safe. It's taken me years to know what I know, to have learned what I've learned. And I practiced hundreds and hundreds of times with other people before I ever attempted anything alone. Because I don't want to end up looking like that.
I got big respect for Survivor Man, Les Stroud, because he goes out and films everything himself. He's not like Bear Grylls that has a film crew. He goes by himself. He'll set the camera up, and then he goes back and he walks by. When you see a scene of him walking by, then he has to go back, get the camera, and then move it, put it down, and come back, walk by again. That's how he does those scenes where he's walking by. He has to do all that work himself and then cut it out and re-edit it.
Well, that first part of that video, that just looked too good for me.
A lot of people think it's fake.
And look how clean it looked.
They've even done studies on his facial features and think it's him in a costume.
Well, look, I mean that's my main problem is just how clean that it looked. Is my main issue with that. So this next video, we got we're just going to show a little clip. This is about the chupacabra.
Ooh.
Puerto Rico, the supposed birthplace of the chupacabra. The word itself supposedly translates to goat sucker in Spanish, which is in correlation to what these vampire-like creatures do. One of the first few sightings started in March of 1995 when 8 sheep were found dead with bite marks on their chest and completely drained of blood. 5 months later, over 150 farm animals in Puerto Rico had been found dead in the same exact manner. People describe it as a hairless, dog-like animal that walks on 4 legs and looks like it has burnt skin with a very gaunt body. Somebody supposedly caught one on camera, but in my honest personal opinion, I think that looks more like a skinwalker than anything. And now it seems that these creatures are more in the southern parts of North America and Mexico, and they don't seem to be going anywhere anytime soon. As always, don't forget to follow and leave a comment if you'd like to be featured in the next Urban Legends video. Stay spooked.
The chupacabra. The goat sucker.
So yeah. So the chupacabra.
Goat sucker.
Yeah, I know it's you know, real big, you know, in Mexico and stuff like that.
Puerto Rico,
And
big time.
right, and they're saying now you're getting some videos and stuff that get put out and stuff like that, and it's from Texas.
Yeah.
Of course, down there right on the border and stuff. But every video that I see, it just looks like a mangy dog.
Yeah, they all look like a bald dog, like he lost all his hair, like a naked dog.
The only weird one, so I have seen a couple though that
like a lizard.
it looks like a dog, but then it's got a long snout like a donkey.
Oh.
And that's what they're saying are the real chupacabras.
Like a
but
Komodo dragon or something. But they said that the victims, like the animals, they come and they find all the blood sucked out of it, like a vampire.
yeah.
Like it feeds on the animal's blood. Pretty crazy.
It's the El Chupacabra.
This next one, pretty interesting.
Let's check that out.
Let's just play it and then let everybody see what they think.
Hey Siri, call Chris. Oh my god. Where are you? Look. Oh.
So of course it's fun watching that.
Yeah.
You know, you get into it because, of course, that in that situation, it's going to be poltergeist activity. It's going to be kind of like the tricks, and they just like to cause menace. They just want to cause problems. But
little drama there thrown in too. I think it was completely fake, and she had help doing it.
yeah, you may have had me on the maybe something was going on, but then that whole thing of then I'm going to come out of the closet and I'm acting weird, and
I make the
and
faucet
I don't
turn on
remember
with my
this. Yeah, you're getting too far there, way too far. Totally made up, I think.
Now
This next thing's pretty cool. So this is something that's supposed to be happening. So I don't want to tell you too much about it, but it's something that's coming up. We're going to see in the next week. We'll let the video play, then we'll kind of talk about it.
Yeah.
Earth is about to get another moon. Yes, we're gonna have 2 moons. A mini moon will start to orbit Earth this month. It's an asteroid that's being pulled in by Earth's gravity. Researchers have been tracking the asteroid called 2024 PT5 since August, and they've mapped out its path. Starting on September 29th, it will start to orbit the Earth, much like our moon does, but in the shape of a horseshoe. The asteroid will have negative geocentric energy, meaning it can't escape Earth's gravitational pull, and it will become a so-called mini-moon. But they project it will eventually leave Earth's orbit on November 25th. So we'll only have 2 moons for about 56 days. This isn't the first time this has happened. An asteroid called 2022 NX1 became a mini-moon in 1981 and 2022, and it's going to return in 2051. And 2024 PT5 will return as our little mini-moon in 2055. Unfortunately, you won't be able to just look up and see 2 moons in the sky. Amateur telescopes won't work, but astronomers will be able to see it with their high-tech tools.
So yeah, it's pretty neat. So an asteroid coming, and
yeah,
it's going to be visibly. They said
could mess with the tides, everything.
Yeah, it's not. I guess it's not going to be like really clear to the visible eye, like only certain parts of the country. Is what they were saying.
Could be a UFO disguised as an asteroid,
which could go into part. I mean, a lot seems to be happening in September.
Yeah.
With the UFO stuff.
Yeah.
Some other videos we're going to play later and stuff like that. It's all surrounded in the last week or so.
Yeah.
That's happened, so.
It's kind of similar, but.
Yeah, it's kind of the same. If you want to, we can go ahead and talk about the dog, man. So any chance
Listen, in this video, this guy went to what's called a gifting rock, which is nothing more than an altar in the woods, and gave something to it. And then what you see right here, these giant sets of eyes, is what followed him home. Ladies and gentlemen, let me say this to you. Don't be putting offerings on altars in the woods, because you don't know what that's an altar to. And this is what followed him home. Now, sir, I want you to understand something, sir. I need you to calm down. Calm down, sir. That's a dog, man. Listen, in this video, this guy went to what's called a gifting rock, which is nothing more than an altar in the woods, and gave something to it. And then what you see right here, these giant sets of eyes, is what followed him home. Ladies and gentlemen, let me say this to you. Don't be putting offerings on altars in the woods, because you don't know what that's an altar to. And this is what followed him home. Now, sir, I want you to understand something, sir. I need you to calm down. Calm down, sir. That's a dog, man.
Could that be a raccoon or something?
Well, see, I thought that's when I'm watching it at first. I'm like, it's totally just an animal.
Raccoon.
But it is pretty high off the ground.
Raccoon.
So I wish we could see, right. I wish we could see a better picture of it so we could see if there's a branch. Maybe it's an owl sitting on a branch, or, you know, a raccoon or a possum or something sitting up in the branch.
I wonder if they could
that's what I would say that it is.
I wonder if you could edit the video and try to bring out what it, the dark parts, see what it is.
Well, I dug a little deeper into that video, and then it was pretty, because, so he hadn't seen nothing around the area. I guess the guy that filmed this, that turned this in, he ain't seen nothing until he went and visited a known area that was supposed to be with these Augmen and different things like that. And then after that happened, then he started seeing this at the house, and they think that maybe he brought something back with him, or something followed him. Yeah.
That's important when you go on investigation, paranormal, whatever. It sounds silly, but you always just say, hey, you can't come home with me. And if the people that are living there want it gone, you don't want to say, you just need to stay here. Because you don't want it, if they want it gone, you don't want to stay there either. You just say, you can't come with me. You just need to move on, but don't be coming home with me. You don't want to bring nothing home. Because I've talked to people that's had that kind of thing happen, where something started happening at their house weird, and they never had a problem until they went to some paranormal place.
See, I don't think it'd bother me.
You'd be like, cool.
Then I'd kind of see something. I think I'd be with it.
I had a buddy he said the place was haunted. When he first moved in, he's running his bath before he go to work, and he said one night he went in there and the bath water was running for him. He said, and I don't remember turning it on. He said, a couple nights later, went in there and the water was turned on again, like it knew his routine. I said, well, that sounds pretty helpful to me. But then one night he seen this old woman looking in his bedroom, and he told her to get the hell out of there. And yeah, he said, no more bath water.
Always copping the looks.
Yeah, she never come back. But he thinks that she used to live in that house. It was a little tiny house. Yeah.
Yeah, still I haven't
If they can move objects, why can't they run the sweeper,
do a little cleaning for me.
Do a load of dishes there, Mystery Ghost.
Absolutely.
What do you got next? You got some Mothman going on right there?
Yeah, I know you're a fan.
Yeah,
so I just found a little video. It's pretty neat. It's not really diving into the lore of Mothman or anything. It's just kind of a little thing that we got going on.
And people who are going to Point Pleasant and go see the Mothman statue, please quit putting coins in his butt crack. It's just not cool.
These pictures, supposedly taken by a man who says he was driving along State Highway 2 in Point Pleasant, saw something jump from tree to tree. So he pulled off the road to take these pictures. The man declined an on-camera interview, but is adamant the pictures are real.
Pretty quick video, but yeah.
Could be a bat, could be a fairy, could be Mothman.
It was big. It was definitely big.
Mothman has glowing red eyes, too. If you get a front view of him, he's supposed to have them big glowing red eyes.
So I'm sure everybody kind of knows the story about Mothman. We'll let Phil kind of just tell you a little bit about it, not go on very long. Just the main premise of Mothman.
Main premise is he's a harbinger of doom. He shows up right before some bad event happened. The most famous event was the Silver Bridge, Point Pleasant, Virginia, right where Ohio and West Virginia, their border. And it's right before Christmas, and a bunch of cars were on the bridge, and people had seen the Mothman, and then the bridge, shortly thereafter, the bridge collapsed. There was a little link in there that went bad, and when it went bad, it was like chain reaction. The whole thing fell. But originally, that area was cursed by Chief Cornstalk. He used to be a native chief who got along with all the settlers and everything, but then they had him come up there at Point Pleasant for a meeting. And then when he's up there, they're having a meeting, and they just come in and I can't remember if they shot him or stabbed him. I'm trying to remember now. But before he died, he said, "You've killed me, and I have done nothing to you. So for that, I will curse this land. For the next 60 years or whatever, it's supposed to be a curse." And then right around that time of year, we get tornadoes and all kind of stuff.
Well, there's been other stories too of big things happening, I think it's Chernobyl. Before Chernobyl disaster happened, there was reports and stuff that people were saying they saw something with red eyes looking at them, and then the people that saw them and stuff, their eyes would turn red, the blood vessels would bust in their eyes. And that was the strange kind of phenomenon that went with it and stuff. And they all said the same thing, that he either kind of just gave them a push where they saw something was going to happen, or he would whisper something's going to happen, but kind of just giving that warning and stuff. And
they've been having a lot.
It's worked out good for Point Pleasant though. They've prophesized on it, pretty good.
And the festival, Mothman Festival, and Chicago's been having a lot of Mothman sightings up around O'Hare Airport and just north of there. They've been having for the last couple of years. People have been seeing Mothman. And
remember too, if anybody's got anything they want to add in, you want to chime in, you can call us. We'll put you on here and we'll talk.
We'll talk to you live.
Or we can just answer your questions.
Questions. We want to talk to you.
Right, absolutely. We want to get good conversation going about anything that we're talking about. So what we'll do real quick is let's go up. So as you know, our guy here, Phil, he makes a lot of, so we go on these investigations and stuff like that, and Phil makes some homemade devices. We have all the electronic devices that you can buy, and we use all of that stuff on the regular, but we want to make stuff too.
I got one right here. It's homemade, and it's basically a glass jug, and I've got a spinner in there, and then I've got a copper coil that goes down through. This is sealed, so the only thing that can move this is something paranormal, an earthquake, a tornado, whatever. And I was using a crystal, and then I switched it out for a tektite. A tektite is like a rock where a meteorite has hit the planet, and all the dust and rocks and everything that gets blown out of the crater, they're a lot of them are like melted glass. It's so hot, and the pressure when the meteorite hits, it makes them into these. They're like kind of like glass, but they got little holes in them, like kind of like looks like a little sponge, but it's like glass basically. And they're supposed to bring in energy from the universe because they came from outer space. So I started adding tektites. And I've got some marbles in here too, like they can move the marbles, or you never know what's manipulating it. It could be a child spirit, it could be you don't know what's doing it. But the whole thing is that spinner will move. And I carried it around for a good year and a half for it. It didn't do anything. I thought, well, is this thing ever going to move or not? And we were over in Benton, Kentucky one night, and it started moving real slow. And then this latest one, we were here about 2 hours away. I can't reveal the location. It was a pretty messed up case. But this next video, it started moving. It was on a concrete floor.
Down one video than what you're on.
Yeah, it was on a concrete floor. So we're
Spirit detection
what could be
device.
moving it? But anyway, I got a video of it in action. And if anybody wants to know how to make one of these or anything like that, you can contact me and I'll walk you through how to make one.
The thing's moving. It's only the second time in 2 years I've seen, almost 2.5 years I've ever seen it move. Last time it moved real slow. But it's moving kind of slow right now, ain't it? Thank you for moving that. That's pretty cool. Can you hit one of them balls or knock over one of them blocks or hit the red box again?
So hopefully everybody can see that at home. At first I thought somebody had a candle because I could see like a flicker on the floor, like a light. But it was the light. I put a light next to it so my camera could pick up the movement. And that's what the little yellow light was there next to it. That's also a tap light. If something taps it, it'll change colors. So we've had that happen a few times. But the whole light is so the camera can catch it if it moves. And that little flicker you saw, a little barely moving, I thought somebody had a candle. It was the spinner moving inside the bottle.
Well, so just talking about these different devices and stuff that, like I said, like he makes, kind of let us dive deeper and stuff like that and just try different things and stuff like that. We'll show a little video that kind of shows one that he put together and stuff like that. And it's a fun little video.
It's a fun one. We call this the paranormal paramoo. And if a spirit or any kind of Indian one comes around and ring the cowbell, then we know something's around. And just in case we don't have enough cowbell, we got more cowbell down here.
Guess what? I got a fever. And the only prescription is more cowbell. I could have used a little more cowbell. I could have used a little more cowbell.
Shout out to Christopher Walken. A little more cowbell.
So, and we haven't really got to see the paramoo go off yet. Definitely looking forward to that happening, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. We set it out about every time we go out, just hoping.
Yeah, I've got several people on the team already told me if the paramoo goes off, they're running to the car.
All right. So this next video, we'll kind of check this out. This was a couple guys doing just a stream video, and something kind of happened while they were streaming.
While a man named John was live streaming with a few friends, his stomach dropped when he saw something chilling in the background of one of their videos.
And a couple of more pieces. I do like RJ Barrett, but I don't know. It might be time for him to go as well. You never really know. So I say you just build off of those people. Was that a ghost?
I just personally.
Oh, yo, Junebug, chill out.
Yo, that wasn't even a person.
Junebug, chill out. I ain't got time for this.
Yo, did we catch a ghost on stream?
In the bottom left video behind Chris, a dark figure was caught walking by. This terrifying figure walked into view and quickly went behind Chris to the left. And although Chris didn't see this figure, it looks like he felt something's presence. The other guys on the stream pointed this out, but none of them could come up with an explanation. So did the group accidentally catch proof of the paranormal? I'll let you decide.
Coming to visit him. Maybe.
Well, my first thought's always going to be in a situation like that where something rolls behind you. Is there a window open? Did a car go down the road? Because we've seen that. One of the cases that we went on before, remember, they kept saying that when they were laying in bed over in a chair, they would see a shadow look like a man or something sitting in this chair. They were in the basement, was where this bed was at. So we went outside, and sure enough, we recreated the whole thing. I was on the bed, laying down. Phil was outside, and when a car come through, sure enough, you would see that shadow project on there, and it looked like somebody was sitting there.
That thing was like,
but that one, yeah, it moved kind of snaky.
Wispy. It was like flying, like flowy, and then it just took off.
Right, when it's a reflection from a car or something like that, it's more structured.
And you didn't have a lot of lights on either. Yeah, you see something like that of a night, it'll get your attention.
Too long. Jump to the next. Go ahead and hit it.
Oh my God!
What is that?
After it. Go ahead. That one.
Light it up now.
Crazy. It's like a trumpet. It's like a judgment trumpet. This y'all get right. And this has been happening all day. If I ain't right with the Most High, I suggest y'all get right with the Most High, because that's a trumpet. I don't care what nobody says. That's a trumpet. Trying to crank nobody. That's loud. Bub, that's loud. Y'all ain't right with God. Y'all need to get right. This always happens when something bad. When something bad is
Oh, geez. Wind is definitely picking up. This is definitely 60-mile-per-hour winds. Might be maybe even 70. I hope that's not a tornado. I don't think it is.
That's a Trump. I don't care what nobody says. That's definitely a Trump.
Says it's staged.
Could be.
So, well, Patrick, I know that you said that could be staged, but the problem is there is multiple videos. I mean, hundreds of them, and it's from different locations, not just in the States or anything, in the world. Like this has happened in Russia. It's happened in Yugoslavia. There's videos of it everywhere in the world. So, of course, everybody's going to jump to the biblical standpoint. Oh, we're in the time of Revelations. The seals are getting broken. That's the horns. We know the story. That's the horns that's going to call on the four horsemen of the apocalypse, and that's a kickoff. But the only issue I have with listening to that theory or even suggesting that is if you read it, it said that those trumpets will be heard all over the world at the same time.
Simultaneous trumpet.
Exactly. So I would count out that. So I did some research. I was checking it out, and I think I figured it out what this is. So yeah, War of the Worlds,
Orson Welles,
which could lead into what we're talking about. Our main subject for tonight is
Aliens Coming.
Aliens Coming.
Yeah.
So we need Tom Cruise.
Yeah, or Will Smith. Or Cousin Eddie.
Cousin Eddie.
Yeah, but he took out that one by himself.
He did take the main one out.
Took him out too, but
so yeah. I mean, you could look at it from the biblical standpoint, but like I just said, if you read it, it says that we're all going to hear it all over at the same time. So it is happening in different parts of the world, and it happens in different seasons. It's been going on for about 5 years is when people started really kind of hearing it. I'm thinking it has to be, if you're not looking at it from the biblical standpoint, if you're going to look at it from a scientific explanation, it's got to be some kind of atmospheric pressure. It's got to be something on that lines. I mean, look at the Northern Lights. We have anomalies that go on that we don't really fully understand, and it's got to be something like that.
Solar storm. This is audio, and it's not like thunder, so it's kind of like a foghorn or something.
And I would totally say, that video's made up or stuff, but you could go and look, and I mean, there's hundreds of them, different people in different nationalities, everything. They're all hearing it, and they're genuinely concerned, like they're kind of freaking out by it.
It almost sounds like a B-17, old B-17 bomber flying around with a foghorn blown on it, something like that. Like them big ships got the foghorn, but then it sounds kind of like a B-17 bomber too coming over, them old ones, like when they do those reenactments.
It is definitely interesting. So just to keep everybody updated, we are about 10 minutes from having our guest on and stuff and really getting some good conversations. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Real quick, we'll just let's check this video out. We may not. Let's just go with the Dead Man's Hotel. Or Hole, I'm sorry.
Dead Man's Hole.
Dead Man's Hole, I'm sorry. Let's check it out.
Says the spirits never left. Here's the haunting tale of Dead Man's Hole in the Texas Hill Country. Just a few miles south of Marble Falls, in Burnett County, however, lies a much more sinister type of landmark. On what is now a several-acre park sits a well-like sinkhole, eerily deemed Dead Man's Hole. Measuring about 7 feet in diameter and approximately 155 feet deep, Dead Man's Hole became synonymous with murder. The hole gained its name decades later during the Civil War and the Reconstruction era. Burnett County voted in opposition of secession, which led many Union supporters to seek refuge in the Hill Country, a decision most would come to regret. Awaiting them in Burnett County was a radical group known as the Fire Eaters, described as more violent than the Indians. This group held on to Confederate beliefs and secretly hunted and killed anyone whom they believed expressed opposing views. Described in many historical accounts as fanatics, the Fire Eaters looked upon their violent actions as a heroic stand for the Confederate. Dead Man's Hole became a dumping ground for bodies of Union supporters that were hunted down by the Fire Eaters. An oak tree once stood beside the site that is said to have scars from ropes used in hangings during hasty and biased trials, after which the bodies were cut down and dropped directly into Dead Man's Hole. Reports vary as to the body count, ranging from 17 to more than 36 bodies. It is said that bags of bones were discovered in the hole, although their whereabouts are now topic of dispute. Even John R. Scott, a judge born in New York that sought freedom in Burnett County, suffered this fate. Scott had 4 sons serving in the Confederate Army, but was nonetheless accused of expressing Union sympathies. Scott was chased down by the Fire Eaters as he attempted to flee to Mexico and is one of the bodies that were found at the bottom of Dead Man's Hole. The opening to Dead Man's Hole is now closed, and the area was named a historical marker in 1998. Dead Man's Hole remains the topic of many spooky tales for natives of the area. There is no mistaking the eerie and somber feeling that comes with visiting the hole. What do you think of Dead Man's Hole? Would you spend the night there?
I'm pretty smooth. So yeah, tell us about that, Phil.
So they got this hole down there in Texas, and the Civil War started throwing bodies down there, and then they just over the years just kept throwing bodies down there. There was big piles of bones and stuff down there, and it's supposed to be a highly active area because of just the nature of people being disrespected after they were dead. Instead of being buried, they were just thrown down a hole, so that's why they call it Dead Man's Hole.
Why'd they throw him down there?
I guess out of disrespect for him, because one was a Union. They thought he was a Union sympathizer. They were Confederates, and they threw him down the hole because.
Well, I know something kind of happened like that, like when you're talking about like the Spanish influenza, right?
Yeah.
The influenza virus.
Yeah.
They just kind of threw them out to the side and
There
stuff
was so
like that
many,
because and they didn't want the affected bodies and stuff to be around it, which was pretty neat. I went and saw that site when I was up in Pennsylvania a couple years ago.
The guy was
And we'd went out there and checked it out. It was pretty neat. My brother actually lives probably 10 minutes from it. I think it took us to get there.
Pretty cool.
So yeah, it's pretty neat. No paranormal activity though when he was out there. I was a little bummed out. Figured that much going on there, something had to happen.
Man.
So before we get everything going and stuff with our guest coming on tonight, we're just going to show you one of her TikTok clips, and this is kind of what we're talking about tonight, and let you guys kind of see her and kind of get this process going before she gets in here.
Absolutely.
I had the most wild, crazy channel last night, and I truly don't know what to make of it or if I'm absolutely effing crazy. Hi, my name is Candace. I am a psychic medium and an energetic healer, and yes, I do channeling. Last night, I kept getting this weird feeling that I needed, like a message needed to come through. Now, I am a medium, so when I'm working with someone, when I'm sitting with someone for a mediumship reading, I will get that right before the reading. And then I sit down and it all kind of flows through and the messages come through. But I've never really received that kind of feeling just in my normal everyday life. I was home with my family, home with the kids. It's a Sunday night. We're getting ready for school the next day. It wasn't anything unusual. It wasn't like I was tapping into any kind of energy or doing any kind of healing or psychic work at all. When I went to bed last night, I was like, okay, I'm just going to close my eyes and do a little channeling and see what is wanting to come through. I'm not saying this is true, but I'm telling you my experience and how bizarre it was, and a part of me wants to know, is this gonna come true? Okay, let me get to it. Long story short, what I kept receiving was that we as humanity are about to go through another mass awakening. And this awakening is going to feel different than the awakenings that we've experienced in the past. So the awakenings that we've experienced in the past have been very abrupt. They've been like rugs pulled out from underneath us. They've been shocking and have catapulted us into new ways of living or thinking or doing things. But this one's going to be different. On the night of September 14th and 15th, it's like the energy is just right in the atmosphere that the veil is going to be lifted temporarily, and we as people are going to be able to see, this is the part where I feel insane, large amounts of spacecraft, alien spacecraft incoming, moving in and out of our planet, some of them coming here to drop off energies, drop off some sort of codes to help humanity, which is going to push us into another level of awakening. But this awakening is going to be one that feels peaceful, that's going to give you aha moments. It's going to give you those like epiphany moments that says, I know what my path is, I know what my purpose is, and I know how I'm supposed to be moving forward. And I guess that there's going to be many, 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 many people who see these large amounts of spacecraft coming through or passing through, but not everybody is going to see them. But everybody is going to be affected by the energy that these aliens, who said that they were like guardian angels, will be leaving behind. So, yeah. Not sure what to do with that information, but sharing it. So we'll see. Let's look out for September 14th and 15th. And if anything wild and crazy happens, please let me know. Please let me know. Okay, bye.
All right, go. Let it. All right, this time we'd like to welcome in Candace.
Hey guys.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me.
Oh, we're glad you're here. We want to talk to you. We're excited to talk to you.
Welcome to Supernatural
I
Sundays.
Yay.
I'm Phil Billy, and this is Vinny Voodoo.
Nice to meet you both. Good to see you.
We got our own paranormal, supernatural investigation squad team. We go out and do investigations. We try to help people. We go do some fun stuff. Anything supernatural, dealing with ghosts, cryptids, Bigfoots, UFOs, anything like that. And we have our little show here to try to raise awareness of stuff we see going on out in the world and get people talking about it. And we try to have pretty good, interesting conversations and dialogue. And we saw you on the TikTok about a week ago, and we're like, "Oh, I wonder if she'd want to come on." So we said you had some activity going on. If you want to tell a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, well, my name is Candace. I am a psychic medium. I'm also an energetic healer. And I do channeling. So when I do work with people, I sit down with them, I open up a channel, and sometimes that leads me to talking to their loved ones on the other side. And sometimes that leads to opening up to other realms or other dimensions. So that means that sometimes I receive information from extraterrestrials or other dimensional beings. So guides, angels, ascended masters, and yeah, the occasional ET.
Wow.
Sounds exciting.
That's pretty cool. What's the whole healing thing about? Is that kind of like Reiki or something, or is that similar? Or?
Yeah, it's so I'm actually traditionally trained in Reiki, and Reiki was kind of that thing that really helped like expand and open up my psychic and intuitive abilities. That's really where that grew from. So in energetic healing, I use Reiki techniques, but over time, with working with other beings as well, that has opened up what that means for me. So I call it energetic healing.
That's pretty cool.
That's awesome, man. You do this stuff and kind of like things like that, and some of your channeling and stuff. Like you do it through your TikTok page and stuff.
Yeah, well, I started my TikTok page a while back, just kind of getting a feel for what TikTok was, and nothing has really taken off on there. You know, TikTok's hard trying to figure it out and what works with the algorithm. But yes, on there, I do share what I do. So psychic medium readings, channelings, energetic healings, and things like that. And I also have a podcast of my own. So my goal is to help educate people about these things.
And guys, we'll get some links and stuff on there for her pages and stuff so you guys can check her out. Like I said, we've been watching her videos this week and stuff like that. And just great. You know, it's great watching your videos and stuff. We like what you're doing.
Cool. Thank you.
Anybody that's interested and really just has the courage to go on and talk about this stuff, because as you probably know well as anybody else, you get scrutiny too, and it involved too. That comes with it, and so just having the guts to get on there and kind of talk about your experiences and stuff like that, excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Thank you. Well, that's what was so surprising. I was saying, like, it's hard to figure out TikTok, what's going to take off. You never really know. So when I did that video that you guys showed, like, I had no followers. I had 300 followers minimum. I wasn't really doing well on there. And I did that with zero expectation. I really didn't think that was going to take off. I thought that a couple people might see it. And I was like, cool, if they do, right? No, it exploded. It went viral. And that was very scary for me. And yeah, with that comes people who are not so nice.
Yeah, we've dealt with that. We've got a friend she's on there almost every day, and she's having entities like attack her, and she's had priests come out, she's had paranormal groups come out, she's been to psychiatrists, and she's dealt with law enforcement, and just nothing seems to help. It's like she's just being attacked every day, and she gets personally attacked by people just every day, saying not so nice things. There's a lot of people praying for her, trying to help her, and then there's other people who are just kind of like ridiculing her, and we had her on a few weeks ago when we're pulling for her. We're trying to figure out, is there any way we can help her, and sometimes we have to bring in clergy or a demonologist or someone who's very versed in dealing with that kind of stuff. And, you get into some stuff you can't explain, and people are being attacked, and they need help.
Yeah, for sure. Have you had any luck? Did you bring in demonologists or anything to help this woman? Has she felt any lighter?
This woman's had everybody come in already, and we haven't physically went there. She's like 5 hours away from us, and
Yeah, there's actually a show. It's called
Spirit Attack.
Well, I thought it was on My American Nightmare or something.
Yeah, she was on.
She was on My American Nightmare. They had an episode on there where she had a
Demons.
team come into her house and stuff and tried to get some proof and stuff. And they got some weird stuff on there. And I guess it didn't really help her too much. It still was kind of ramped up and still kind of going on. And then she's reached out to other groups and.
She said the priest got attacked, even, So.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so we deal with some pretty crazy stuff.
Yeah.
But, yeah, she's still on there day and night, just trying to get help, and she's pretty desperate.
Oh man.
Do people come to you live, like in person, or do you do stuff over the phone, or like over video? How do you do your readings and help people?
Yeah, so originally I actually owned a business, a brick and mortar, where people did come in and work with me. And I have since transitioned to working only online. So the only way you can work with me in person is to book group readings where I would go to somebody, but you have to be local or personal one-on-one things. But that's for my local people. So yeah, everything I do is online, all via the internet. But you get the face-to-face with me the same way that I'm talking with you guys.
Cool. Do you charge for that, or is that kind of how you make your living, or?
Yeah, this is my job. This is what I do. This is my living. And I've had many jobs before this. And I've never felt quite as passionate about anything else until I started doing this work.
So I know in our group and stuff, we have a few mediums that work with us. So if we go into a place, and we'll kind of want to get that feel for it from, I'm not going to say just solely the skeptic side, but we kind of, as me and Phil, we kind of look for more of the explanation of things.
We do a lot of debunking and use a lot of equipment. And I don't know if you were watching earlier, I got a lot of my own homemade equipment I make too. Like this one's got a spinner inside there, and the spirit would have to move that spinner inside the bottle. It's sealed up, and I've got a Tektite in here to bring in energy and a copper coil. But
oh wow!
So we got electronic stuff. But we also rely on our psychic community.
Yeah, we'll bring them in too to help and see what they kind of sense. So I know working with them, so they different ones have kind of different abilities.
Yeah, we've got one guy. He's like a clairvoyant. He hears things talking to him, but he doesn't see anything. And then we've got another.
So that's clairaudient.
Yeah, and then we've got a full Reiki master, and she doesn't see a lot, but she senses things, and she's been involved with some different cases with portals and all kind of stuff. And then we've got another. She's kind of an amateur Reiki, but she is having similar activity that you are with. Like you got a message and just kind of a brief message. She's getting communication on a daily from extraterrestrial type entities. And she's had some pretty crazy stuff going on with her too, and she comes with us on investigations too. And but what was weird, I went on one investigation. The clairaudient guy got a name. As soon as we got there, we got a name, and the name was Dean. And we walked into the house, and the homeowner like, "Does the name Dean mean anything?" And I'm like, "No." Asked the husband, the wife, "No." And then our other Reiki master, she was there. She's like, "No, I don't need my name Dean." Well, the other girl on our team, she's like, "Did you just say Dean?" He's like, "Yeah, as soon as we pulled up in the car, I got Dean." She goes, "My fiance, who passed away a year ago, his middle name was Dean. He went by Dean." So it's like, he picked up on that. So we think this Dean's following her around all the time, or like with her. And we think he helps her, like with investigations and whatnot, kind of like a guide, so to speak.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. For sure.
Yeah. So
on your end, what, I mean, I don't really want to say abilities, because that it kind of sounds like we're talking about some kind of like superheroes or something like that. But like, how does it come to you, or?
Yeah. So everyone is psychic, and it will show up for every single individual differently. It just depends on where your strengths lie. So I like to teach this to people that where you're really good at learning, if you're somebody who's really good at learning through hearing things through audio, right? You're going to be clairaudient. So you're going to be able to hear things better. So I was an artist. I went to school for art. That was kind of my thing. So I'm very clairvoyant. So the way I receive information is through vision. So I get movies, like scenes that look like movies, pictures, images, symbols, and signs like that come to me through my mind's eye. I also am clairaudient, so I do hear words and I do hear phrases, but it also depends on who I'm communicating with and where their strengths lie. So if I'm communicating with a spirit who's really good at being vocal about things, I'll get more vocally from them and clairaudience. And then I'm also an empath, right? Like so many of us, we're all big feelers. So I receive a lot of my information also through feelings. So paying attention to kind of how all of that information is coming in, and then being able to put all the puzzle pieces together to create a story.
Wow, that's neat.
You ever get a song?
Yeah. My grandmother and my dad passed within this last year. And the way that they communicate with me when they come in, especially my grandmother, she will speak to me through song.
I was sleeping one time on the couch. The cat napper took me into that special place where I passed out, right? The cat napper. It's hard to resist. So anyway, I just woke up in the middle of the night, like 3 a.m, and it was like somebody hit play, like on a, it was like you had headphones in, but I didn't have headphones in. There was nothing on in the house, but it was like somebody hit play. It was in my head, like loud. It was like that song on the Vacation movie with Chevy Chase, the family truckster, the song Dancing Across the USA. That was the song. It was like I woke up and I got, we went dancing across the USA. And it just instantly, and I'm like, why am I hearing this? So then I had to get on, YouTube and play it. And then, I don't know, like about twice a week when I get up in the morning, I've got to play that song. I don't know why. It was Lindsey Buckingham. He was in, I think, with Fleetwood Mac and everything, and he went on his own. He does the, Holiday Road song and, the whole soundtrack for that movie. But it was like I woke up and I got this song. Don't know why. Don't know who sent it, how it sent it. It was just weird. It was like real loud too. Like it was like you had it in headphones. Can't explain it. That's my only clear audio thing that's ever happened, but it's pretty cool.
Well, my question would be, did that song have meaning to you? Did it bring back a specific memory?
No, it had me confused. Still does. Still confused. Because I used to drive, trucks. I like to go places. I'm always like traveling. So maybe that meant I was going to do some traveling. Because I've done a lot of traveling this year. So I don't know what it meant, but pretty good song. I still play it.
So do you work with a paranormal group, or do you go out with any, or has any, ask for advisement or anything, or do you dive into that or are you just kind of just helping people?
I just help people now. When I first started doing this work, when I had that brick and mortar, I had 2 partners who did a lot more of the investigation side. Not quite as much as you guys do, but we would go into other people's houses. We would do cleansings for the home. So we would remove entities, we would close portals, we would make sure that we were jam packing that place up with like guardians and high vibrational beings to help cleanse the space. So I did do a lot of that. I also worked with people for a short time and helping them remove entities that may be attached to them. But I've kind of gotten away from a lot of that as I've kind of moved off on my own, just because those things truly scare the shit out of me. They're scary.
It gets pretty scary. Yeah.
Yeah. And you are at risk of having attachments, things coming home with you. And if you're not doing the work to cleanse yourself of those attachments, then it can wreak havoc on your health and your well-being.
Kind of like with Bruce.
Yeah. We got a friend of ours, Bruce. He's been in the paranormal field for 46 years. And he's seen about everything. He's a demonologist. He studied voodoo, witchcraft, everything that he would need to go in and deal with whatever's going on in the house. He's more of a removal type person. He's a deliverance type minister. So he was doing he told me an experience where he had done a cleansing and somebody had an attachment, and he did all the prayers and the like a ceremony, and he cleansed his team, cleansed the person, their house, and everything. But he said where he made a mistake, he didn't cleanse himself. And he said he got back home and he took a shower, get ready for bed, laid down in the bed, and something grabbed his head and shoved his head in the pillow and started attacking him. And he actually had to do the whole ceremony right there in his own house, and do it all over again to get rid of it. You know, when he was being attacked, he actually took something home with him. So yeah, that's a risk. You know, when we're out somewhere paranormal, I always say, you know, you have to stay here. You can't come with us. And if it's a really nasty case, we do a lot of praying, do a lot of protection prayers, and that don't always work. Sometimes you got to go back. Sometimes you got to go back with a different technique, different tactics, different team. You may be dealing with something that's native, like a Native American spirit. You may be dealing with something that only responds to the Catholic, exorcism type removal and cleansing, or it may only respond to the deliverance type ministry. So, I've got some friends, I got Pentecostal ministers. They do a lot of anointing oils, and then I have, like Bruce does, the deliverance type ministries, and we had a really nasty case a while back, and we were going to go try to help this lady, and she was being attacked, and something was grabbing her in her own house, and been going on for a while, and Bruce was preparing the anointing oil, and he just got a migraine. The night we were getting ready to leave, like 2 hours before he started throwing up, had a migraine. The Catholic bishop that was going to come, he got a migraine. One lady another lady was coming, had kidney stone that night, and then you got sick. Then Cammy, the lady that lives with me, she got sick, and then Kathleen, she got sick. All of our sensitive people, pretty much, all got sick. So it was just me and the clairaudient and one other investigator went. And,
wow.
And they actually had a door they couldn't get open. And I checked all the doors, nothing was going on. This door, these are two grown men. One's 6'2", the other one's he's at least 6 foot, well over 300 pounds, and they couldn't get the door open. It was like shoving them back. And then when they finally got the door open, they're like, nobody there, and he's still pretty freaked out about it because he's like, dude, I've never had anything push me back like that.
Wow.
So yeah, it can get pretty crazy. So yeah, you gotta protect yourself. And we had holy water that night. She even drank some. I don't want to go into all the details, but it was everything was quiet for a few months. But then now I think there's a few little things going on. So even the priest I talked to said, just because I do a cleansing doesn't mean I'm not going to follow up. Sometimes they have to come back several times. It's like, you're friends and family now. We're going to keep coming back, and maybe once or twice a year they got to, come back around. And I know you study demonology, so it's not like it doesn't always work the first time, Have you ever experienced anything like that with your team and with your when you had your brick and mortar, where they had to go back a few times? Or
I remember one client that reached back out to us, and because I do energetic work, we can actually do things long distance too. So it's no big deal for us to tap in with our intuition to somebody and not have to go into their house to do an extra cleansing. So there was one client that I do remember, and it was because we didn't finish closing a portal. And so it was like just seeping in negative energy.
So you've had a lot of communication and stuff with this. Have you, I know you said kind of some of the ghost stuff and stuff like that kind of scares you. Have you had bad communications, or maybe talked to something other, not friendly, or, experiences like that?
Right. I think every psychic has at some point, because until you understand how to use the gifts and how to protect yourself, you're just wide open to anything that wants to come through. So as a kid, I was always very psychic, but I didn't understand it. I didn't know that I was psychic. No one in my family, entertained this idea of being psychic. So I was extremely open when I was young and through my teenage years, and I would get communication that did scare me. I would have premonitions about people passing away, and it didn't feel like, you know, like, hey, grandma's about to die kind of premonition. It was like somebody you know is about to die, and it felt very ominous. And when those things came true, it scared me. And then I would hear voices a lot that felt dark. I was like audibly being able to hear something in the corner of my room yell my name when no one else was home, and the voice would be very deep, very gravelly, very scary. I remember having a lot of visions where there were dark things happening. I would, my dog at one point ran by me, and I would see something being poked like in his belly, like he had been stabbed or something. And no one else around me could see what was happening. And I was 14 years old. So I'm thinking I'm the one going crazy, but realizing now as an adult, what I was going through and experiencing was I was experiencing darker things that I didn't know and I didn't understand.
Wow.
Like
that would be terrifying as a kid.
Yeah, the one clairaudient on our team, he can just tune it out. He said it's like trying to go to bed at night. You're getting ready to shut the light off, go to bed. And he said it's like 1,000 people trying to tell you good night. He said I just have to shut it off and tune it out. So he can turn it on and turn it off. Some people can do that. Now I know other people that I don't know that they're psychic or clairvoyant, but I think they might be schizophrenic because they got to be medicated to get it to go away. But he can just turn it off and on. But that's what he said it's like. He's like, is that kind of how you deal with like the darker stuff? You don't want to listen to it. You just tune it out, or?
You know, as I grew up, what I did after, I think I was around 17 years old, I literally prayed every single day for my gifts to be shut off. I didn't want them anymore. So for about 10 years, I was not open to receiving any information. And when I finally was ready to start receiving information again, I was doing a lot of healing. I had kind of a difficult childhood, a lot of trauma, a lot of prolonged trauma. And I think that plays a role in what you're exposed to, because I was always in really low feelings of self-worth, feeling very abandoned all the time, feeling like I didn't have love or support. And I think that played a role in that. So as I grew up and I started doing all of this deep healing on some of those traumas and wounds, I noticed my gifts would turn back on. And every time I healed something big, like a spontaneous gift would come. Like I can see auras where before I wasn't able to see auras. And as that happened, I think as I've been healing, I'm no longer exposed to the darker stuff. I have a very good sense of when I'm walking into something that might be darker, or I'm just not exposed to it at all. It's almost like it just doesn't exist for me.
It's almost like the more people you help, it's like a reward system almost. You're getting these other higher levels of ability based on more people you help, and that's pretty.
Well, it was helping myself first. That's where
Self-help.
I had to start. Yeah. And I finally got to a point where I could use my intuition and my gifts to help others. And it's always changing, rapidly growing. I never really know what to expect from my gifts.
So so when you took this on, or you was trying to make sense of it, did somebody help you or kind of help you through it? Or was this something that you just kind of did yourself and kind of worked on?
Opening up my gifts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, this is kind of funny. I spontaneously started to be able to like see auras and have my gifts turned on, and things were happening. So I started searching for something to help me figure out what this was. And for some reason, Reiki kept coming up, right? You know, like the spontaneous or the synchronicities that happen. You keep hearing the word, or people keep mentioning it. So what I did is I went searching for what is Reiki, just feeling like there's got to be something here for me that can give me some of the answers to what I'm experiencing. And I searched for months and months and months, and I found nothing. And then one day, out of the blue, I did a Google search like I had done every single day. And one company popped up, a company that just happened to be within 20 minutes of my home. And so I went there and I made friends with the owners there, and they became some of my best friends. And they're the ones who helped me open up my gifts. It was very like kismet the way that it happened, having people that I found who were already trained, who were already doing this work, and kind of took me under their wing and helped me develop it.
Oh, wow.
We've had a little bit of experience with like remotely helping people. We were on a case, and it was just supposed to be a fun thing because the lady was actually that owned the house was a Reiki practitioner too, and they said we're having a door open and the shower curtain won't stay shut. You know, we think it's a little. They thought they saw a little girl in there. They think it's like a child spirit, and she said, just come on up. We don't have any expectation. Just bring your equipment, and it's supposed to be fun, and we'll make snacks. And like, okay, so my Reiki master went, and my Reiki, I think she calls herself a Reiki 2. She's like a beginner level. And then our other clairaudient went. And we start doing an Estes session, and which is when you got your necrophonics hooked up in the headphones, and we're asking questions. She can't hear us. For anybody that's watching doesn't know what an Estes session is, I'm sure you do, but she had her headphones on, and she got this name, and the homeowner got up mad, and she's like, what the hell's he doing here? I told him he was supposed to leave here 25 years ago. I thought he left. And I guess the guy that lived there before it ended up doing some really nasty things to kids and whatever, and he ended up being put away in prison. And I think he was passed away, but he showed up on the Estes and his name, and she got really upset. She's like, and she goes, I changed my mind. I want this house cleansed tonight. So we're like, okay. So the whole dynamic changed at that point. And so you're talking remotely. We had another gentleman. He was about an hour away, and he's really into Reiki, and kind of like yourself has abilities. Can't really say exactly what his abilities are, but it got really weird. Like, she's on the phone with him, and he says, okay, he would just move from this room to that room. And then we're like, okay. And then my clairaudient, every time he went in there, got a headache. He couldn't even stay in that room. He had to go back out in the living room. So then pretty soon he said he's in the closet. He's in the closet. And we're like, what? And I'm trying to film everything. I'm trying to record everything. He's like, he's in the closet. He said, okay, he's getting ready to leave. And he says, open the door. Open the door, and then he goes, he's gone. And then he had her do the sign of the cross on the door. And I'm like, what just happened? She goes, that's a fire cleansing. He did a remote fire cleansing and got the entity to leave, the spirit of this guy to leave. And I'm sitting here just completely dumbfounded, like, what the hell just happened? I come to see if the door would open or if the shower curtain was shut. I was not, maybe get a little girl showing up on my audio or something. I was not expecting any of this. And, so that was our experience with a remote cleansing, so to speak. And it sounds like you had some experience with that.
Yeah, just a little bit. You know, I definitely prefer, if you're going to be doing a cleansing, that you can be in the building, because I feel like entities are really good at hiding. Like, if there's a home that happens to have a lot of clutter, right? I feel like the entities want to hide behind the clutter.
We were in a house, and we kept getting the name. It kept saying attic on our Estes. He was getting an attic. So we actually, homeowner went up in the attic. They were part of the investigation, and she would walk to one end of the attic, and everything was cool. She'd come back to the other end. When she got in a certain spot in the attic, that's when my equipment would go off at the same time. And I've got one of these REM pods that has a multi-stage. It'll change, different lights light up the more intensity it is. So you'll see one, it'll go to 2 lights, and if you put your hand right by it, you can make them all go off. It would go to the 3rd light. The 3rd light kept going off on. I checked it, put batteries in it, but it would only do it when she was in that certain spot in the attic. And the dog, I heard a growling. The dog was looking through the window from the outside, looking at my equipment and growling at the same time she was in the attic. Because when it said attic over and over, she went in the attic. That's the only, when we did the cleansing, that's the only place we didn't cleanse. And now she's hearing stuff walking around in her attic. So ooh. I feel, and the whole time we were there, like I had a K2 going off in a bathroom, and then it was by a sink, and then it moved, and then my other investigator says, hey, I'm getting a K2 hitting this other bathroom, and then it's like it was running from us, whatever it was. I also had a cat ball come rolling out, and I know you're familiar with these cat balls, one of these little guys. So it come rolling out like somebody rolled it like a marble out of this bedroom. And I had it on a bed. It just come rolling out, and I picked it up, and it was turned off. So then I turned it back on. I put it back out there, and it was still on at the end of the night, like 3 hours later. So I'm like, okay. So, yeah.
Yeah, that would freak me out.
Yeah, they can hide from you. Yeah, I thought it was interesting. I was like, okay, did a cat do that? Because there were some little kittens, but I was like, nope. And some of them have a button that sticks up, and then I have the other ones with the recessed button. This one happened to have the recessed button. You have to actually stick your finger down in it to turn it off. So a cat couldn't accidentally turn it off.
Wow.
So that's one we're still like, okay, what's going on? We're gonna have to go back.
Have you guys ever, are you familiar with ley lines, energetic ley lines?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I know in a lot of houses that we have done, there's been times where we had to go beyond just the confines of the four walls of the house, right? We have to go outside or even underground, and we're not physically going there. We're going there with our intuition. But to find what energetic ley lines the house might be on that is acting as like a tunnel for specific energetic activity. And there's a way you can, your Reiki masters might know this, or your intuitives, disconnect negative ley lines and reconnect positive ley lines. So that way they're not getting that negative activity.
But ask Jennifer if she can do that.
Yeah.
I've kind of got my own little theory, just specifically, we're here in Kentucky. So ours specifically, there's two very highly active locations in Kentucky. One is the Bobby Mackey's. It's a bar. It used to be a slaughterhouse, pretty famous up in northern Kentucky.
It's not the bar anymore.
Yeah, they were tearing it down and doing some other stuff with it, but they're leaving some of the original site intact for the paranormal purposes. And
they said it has a gateway to hell in the basement.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And it looked like an old well that they'd filled in, but originally the story was the guy they murdered the lady and cut her head off, and there's been some other weird deaths happen there over the years and paranormal things. And when you walk in, there's a sign. This place is reportedly haunted. We are not responsible if any of the patrons are attacked. So that location is on the Licking River, which is a north-flowing river, and it's also limestone. And then if you go south down by Georgetown, Kentucky to Cynthiana, they have the Roz Opera House. The Roz Opera House is very highly active. We actually got some stuff on our SLS footage in there, and I got up in a third level, like above a balcony that had like a lounge up there where they had comedy shows and whatnot. It was almost like getting lowered into a cooler of ice, like your feet get cold, and your knees get cold, and it was weird. Like the cold, people talk about cold, like that's the first time I ever experienced that, like where you're getting lowered, it felt like you're getting lowered into a cooler of ice. That was Roz Opera House. That's also on the Licking River, and I've got my own theories about northern flowing rivers that are on limestone, which is the Licking River. So you got Bobby Mackey's, Roz Opera House on the same exact river. And then when you go to Land Between the Lakes, both rivers, the Tennessee River and the Cumberland River, both flow north. And the whole place is limestone. They've had all kind of, that's where they have the Dogman sightings, Bigfoot, and a lot of paranormal stuff. A lot of people go out to Land Between the Lakes to basically end their life. The rangers don't talk about it a lot, but they'll find trucks parked out on the back forest roads, and they tie themselves off on a tree. So there's a lot of paranormal history over there too. But both of those rivers flow north, and we also have the Licking River, which flows north, and in Kentucky. Another river that flows north over there by Hartfield, Kentucky. We went to a house there. It was pretty active. Lady was having a lot of stuff going on. All northern flowing rivers, which I don't know how that would, if that ties into your ley lines, but I know water has energy, and so does limestone, holds energy.
Yeah, truthfully, I don't even really understand ley lines. I see what I see, and I have to try to make sense of it through words. And somebody once told me those are ley lines, and I said, cool, great. That's what we're going to call them from now on. But in my mind, the way I see them is just like tubes or maybe like roots that are connected to the house. And if they look white and clean, then I know that it's positive energy flowing there. And if they're dark and mucky, like gross pipes or something, I know that there's negative energy flowing through there. But that's interesting about the way that the water, I wonder if you knew the history behind the water or behind the river, if there would be more information there. Because there's a place, I live in Illinois, there's a place called Galena, and it's like one of the most haunted towns because there was this river that was huge, and it flooded the valleys all the time. So lots of people died over several years. Like every couple of years, you know, there would have these floods, the town would go, people would die. And that created like this incredibly haunted town now that is famous for how haunted they are.
Illinois is pretty active. I'm actually from Illinois originally. I was born in Mount Vernon, but my folks live around Decatur. But you get around Alton. I don't know if you're familiar with Troy Taylor, but he's got a lot of books and different things. That does investigations, tours over there. But the Mineral Springs Hotel in Alton, it's shut down, but they do tours and paranormal investigations. But there's one Mineral Spring Hotel in Oakville. It's called the Original Mineral Spring Hotel. It's still open. You can go there, stay there. And it's the mineral water. And I've found that a lot of places where there's mineral springs, where people used to go to get, you know, take the baths. The mineral spring baths are still there. You can get the mineral water. Red Boiling Springs, Tennessee, very active. They've got the Thomas House. They go every weekend. They have ghost investigations there, whatnot. But anywhere I've noticed where there's mineral water, those locations seem to be pretty active. Or where they've had mineral spas or mineral hotels, whatever. But in Illinois, those are a couple places you could go investigate. Up around Decatur, they had the Greenwood Cemetery, a lot of different things up there. Joliet, I think they're letting them do investigations at Joliet Prison now. So,
oh, wow,
cemetery in Chicago, yeah, very, very familiar with Illinois, but.
So when you're doing your channeling and stuff like that, so is it like a situation to where like you actually have to try to channel something like so somebody, or does this come to you and like, hey, I'm trying to contact this person, or does it just kind of work like if somebody comes to you and they're like, hey, can you contact this person for me, you know?
Kind of both, but it's a little bit more complicated than that. So when I first opened up my gifts, you know, I wasn't just receiving information for no reason. I would have to sit down with somebody in order for information to be received. I would have to connect with their energy in order for me to read for them. And as I have grown, my gifts have grown. And like I said, this goes along with it's always changing. I really never know what to expect. So within the most recent year, I have been finding that when I go out in public, I receive information. And that's actually hard for me because I don't want to receive information unless I'm being asked to receive information. I'm a big believer in I'm not going to go give you all this reading and give you this information. It's unethical for me to be tapping into your energy, even if it's by accident, and then just give you a reading spontaneously. I don't think that's cool. People don't necessarily appreciate it either. So yeah, I can get information spontaneously. I don't typically get information spontaneously from galactic beings unless it has something to do with my life. So what happened in my video, I've never had that happen before. And I expect that it'll probably happen again because that seems to be the way my gifts work. I get a push in one direction and then it's it snowballs from there and it grows. But yes, people can come to me and ask for me to read for them or connect with somebody specifically, but that doesn't mean I'll be able to. I always set the intention that when I'm reading for somebody, it's going to be for their highest good. It's going to be for my highest good, and it's going to help them heal or move forward in some sort of way. So if they sit with me and they say, I really want to connect with this person, and that person doesn't come through, I can do my absolute best to see if I can get them to come through, but that's not always the case. And sometimes we just have to accept what happens, what comes through, and accept the messages that come through without forcing anything.
Well, I think that's a good thing too. That's kind of keeping it honest. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that's excellent.
So have you had any experience with portals?
With the house cleansings that I've done, other than that, I stay away from them.
So we had it's down in Clarksville, Tennessee. It's about an hour from here, and we're down in Bowling Green. And this lady said, look, I think I got a portal in my house. And she said she thinks she's kind of sensitive, and she thinks there's multiple spirits in her house. So we go down, try to help her out, investigate, see if we can figure out what's going on. And I got in her bedroom, and we got by this, and I'm looking for a portal. And then I'm researching, how do you find a portal? So you take a compass, and you walk around, and your compass should face north. It should always face north. So I got in her bedroom by this one wall, and the compass, this one spot went away from north. And I'm like, what's going on here? You know, and I get away from it and go back to north again. I'm like, there's something going on. So I'm taking pictures. I'm hitting it with UV light. I got my SLS camera, everything. I did get a high spike on my EMF in that room too, on my industrial one. And not the K2 one, but the industrial one. And it just did it like once. I was like, well, that's kind of weird. So I get to talking to her, the homeowner. She says, well, I woke up one night and there was like these lights. She goes, I looked on the wall and there was a circle, looked like fire with another circle. And she said, it looked like a TV, like I'm looking through a window, this circle. And she said, there were guys riding like chariots, like back in Roman times. She said there was guys going by with chariots. I was like, you sure you weren't smoking something, watching some Stargate or something like that? You know, and she's like, no. She goes, and it looked real to me, you know. And then, but right where she was saying this happened is where my compass would go off in north, you know. And we had another girl with the dowsing rod. She went in there, and her dowsing rods were doing weird stuff in that same spot. So we think there might be a portal in this house, but we've only got one person on our team who's had experience with those. Like, so we would probably have to take her there to try to close it down or whatever. You know, I don't know if she could do that remotely, but
Probably. I don't know if this person that you're talking about is clairvoyant or clairaudient or where her gifts lie, but for me being very clairvoyant, I'll see a portal when I walk in.
Oh wow. Yeah. I'll have to ask her. I don't know. She's had the experiences where she's helped close portals. But I don't know how she knows where they're at. But she's a Reiki master, been doing it for like 16 years, something like that. Started out, she does massage too, but I was at an investigation and this lady's like, you do Reiki? She's like, yeah. She's like, can you adjust my root chakra? Which I'm not sure what that means. I need to read up more on it, but she did something and got on the ground and was like moving her hands around her legs and like acted like she was removing something. She's like, boy, I feel better. And then we've got another lady who sends out happy Reiki. Like if you're having a bad day, she's like, oh, let me send you some Reiki. I don't know how it works.
Good juju vibes.
Yeah. And but she was doing something, grounding her, whatever. But the lady at the flea market does Reiki, and she has a little selenite wand, and she comes around you, and it feels like static electricity going up your arm. She don't touch you.
Ooh.
But then
Yeah.
she gets over here, and it's like it felt like something popped in my shoulder. I'm like, what the hell was that? She goes, oh, you had some energy blockage there or whatever. I'm like, what? And it was weird, but it felt like static electricity to me. The whole Reiki thing, but I only did like a little, short. I didn't do a full session of it, but very interested in it.
So when you're doing like your like over your distance or whatever, when you're doing like your sessions or channeling or something over light and stuff. So kind of how does that process work when it's not an in-person kind of deal?
Yeah, well, that's hard to explain, right? Energy work, it defies time and space. It defies all laws and all logic. And there's no such thing as time when we're talking about energy. There's no such thing as distance when we're talking about energy. So I could be sitting over here in a totally different state and be able to connect with your energy because everything is made of energy, right? So I can connect with that energy and I can send with the intention, sending you healing energy. I can feel your energy. I can feel where there's blockages. I can feel where there's, unhealed trauma, where we need to release things. It is pretty magical in a lot of ways, but I have a feeling one day we'll figure out the science behind it.
I think a lot of it has to do with frequencies, like ringing a bell or anything has a frequency. And people have a frequency too, and that's why I think even interdimensionally, if like our voice, if somebody's in another dimension or wherever they're at, they hear our voice. That's distinctive. That frequency is going to be the same through time or space, I would think. That's why, when you go knock on an old house, there might be some entity he doesn't know time's changed. And if the structure, the mass, or the mass of that structure doesn't change or it doesn't get dampened at all, the vibration, the frequency will be exactly the same. So if you go into George Washington's house and you knock on the wall and they don't do anything to keep it restored, same wood works there. 100 years later, somebody knocks on that same wall, it's going to get the exact same frequency. Well, if there's a spirit or something there that's been there 100 years, he don't know 100 years have passed. To him, it's still yesterday or 100 years ago. That's why I think if you knock on a wall or something, they respond because that frequency will be exactly the same.
That's a very interesting point.
Like if you ring a bell, it's going to ring the same no matter what, unless you crack it, or change the striker, or you put a piece of rubber in it and dampen it. So I used to do a lot of vibration testing and stuff. So everything has a resonant frequency. It's like they call it a bump test. So you take like a transducer and put on a piece of metal. You can hit it with a rubber hammer and it'll come up like 500. Say, just for instance, it'll say 500. Well, if that thing's rotating a machine and it hits like 1,000, like an exact multiple of that 500 or 1,500 or 2,000, it hits one of those resonant frequencies of the structure, it'll shake itself to pieces. So when that happens, you got to put a weight on it, or you got to put rubber pads under and isolate it. Just like on your car, if you crawl under a big truck or a big SUV, a lot of times you crawl under, there'll be a weight hanging off the exhaust system because the vibration from the engine, it'll have a resonant, it'll shake itself to pieces. So they'll put a counterweight on there. It's changing the mass. Like when you have a wheel on your car, it's out of balance. What do? They add a weight opposite of where the balance is and smooth it out. It's changing the mass, which changes the frequency, kind of thing.
Which is exactly what energy is doing, right? It's going in and it's changing the frequency so that it's in harmony with your body or harmony with your natural frequency, or like your kidneys, right? They're going to vibrate at a certain frequency. And when there's sickness in a kidney or in any body part, then it's going to vibrate lower than it should be. And so when an energy healer is coming in, they're changing the frequency, they're changing the energy in there and releasing the negative energy so that it can rise to where it's supposed to be. So I love that you're talking about that. That is very interesting. I've never heard it described that way. So scientific, right? I love when we get scientific about things. But I was just thinking too, when you're doing energy clearings for homes, there's a certain vibration that the whole home is sitting at, right? So when you're going in to clear it, you're changing the vibration, you're raising the vibration, which then wouldn't allow any negative low vibrational entities to be attracted to that space anymore.
Yep, absolutely.
Kind of makes sense.
Fun stuff.
Yeah, I've been wanting to do some stuff with vibration equipment, but it's really expensive. So I've been trying to find some used vibration equipment, but I've got a lot of theories of stuff I want to try, but which aren't traditional theories and different ways of doing investigating. That's not. Most people use audio recorders, and a lot of the apps now they're trying to tune in, and the spirits supposedly can manipulate the software. And I've had some I think are just bogus. They just say the same words everywhere you go. But I've had other ones where you can almost hear different voices, and we've got people's names, and we didn't know who these people were. Then the people that lived there are like, that's my dad. We had a guy come through. It said we had two devices going. We had an obelisk. I don't know if you're familiar with those, but it's like it gets words. They can manipulate it, and it has like a word library. So the obelisk came up and it said hurt neck. It said crushed, hurt neck. And then we got this, I think it was Keith or Ken, something like that, came through on the necrophonics and doing an Estes at the same time. We got hurt neck, crushed neck. Then they go, stop. Our dad was working on the back porch. His name was Ken or Keith, whatever. And there was a tornado and it messed up the porch. And he was up there trying to fix it after the storm and everything. And he fell. The metal off the porch fell on him and cut his neck. And when they found him, he was laying there and the boards were on his neck, and it crushed him, and he didn't make it. And so that's why I think some of these apps are legit, because we got the guy's name, and the other device said how he got hurt and died, and we're like, okay, what the hell just happened here?
Well, we kind of had something like that happen too at Hell's Gate when we were up there with the mechanics. That the mechanic story. He was murdered. Said that it was a fight with another guy, and he got. I think it was hit with a wrench on the head, I think is where it went.
Yeah.
And then it kind of brought up a name, but then that name was actually in the cemetery. We found that headstone, and I mean, we didn't really research stuff. And that's actually happened a couple times. A name's come up, and we found that headstone there. And it's not like common names. We've had common names, because I would chalk that up as, okay. But Some of them's been pretty specific sometimes, and
the one cemetery we had two stones with the same name that we got. And we go to the first one, and we're like, "Is this you?" And then we got it said J.O. We're like, J.O. What the hell does that mean? So we go to the other tombstone, and his last name was Johnson. I'm like, that's got to be the J.O. And then we got some weird. Then we got it said, and then you said, "Are you a man, a handsome man?" And it said, "No, I'm a woman." And then we got Amelia came through, and then I said, "Hello, Amelia." And then we got like this very kind of wispy EVP, like my first EVP. Like I've been going out for a couple years, and I finally got an EVP, and I was so excited. It was like a Class B. You could understand it, but it wasn't like real clear. But it said hello, and that's when my recorder died, and that's when we got a picture, and it's like it looks like a shadow, like a woman standing there next to me, kind of. But that's on our Facebook. We put that on our Facebook page and our YouTube. We put it on our TikTok. And anytime we find evidence, we don't know what we're finding for sure, but we like to put it out there. Like, this is interesting, and sometimes we'll put it out there like, what do you think? So we kind of like to see what everybody thinks about it, but we don't know. We're not claiming it's paranormal because there's no such thing as a paranormal expert because we're really dealing with stuff we don't know for sure.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
So we kind of say, here's what we think it is, but that was kind of cool, though. We got it said J.O., and then over there his last name was Johnson. I'm like, well, this has got to be the guy.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty validating either way.
Yeah.
Well, and most of our things that we've been out, it's been positive. We haven't really had a bad. I did have the one at Hell's Gate say that it wanted to hurt me,
and
one night, but
that one.
Other
house,
really than that, though, we haven't really
the
experienced a bad deal.
The house where the door was getting pushed, that as soon as we got there, my clairaudient got something saying you need to leave. Said you need to leave, and he's like, "Well, what do you want with this house? Why are you here?" And it said, "None of your business." And we've been to two different places where something told him we need to leave, and then we also went to a battlefield up here at Perryville Battlefield, and it's weird. It's like as soon as we get there, he'll get something before we even get out of the car. He gets something, then you may not get nothing the rest of the night or 2 or 3 hours later. It's like right when we get there, it's like it hits him, and he got. I think it was General Bragg, I think. As soon as we get there, he goes, I'm getting a General Bragg. I'm like, okay. And then I walk in the gift shop, and I'm talking to the guy. I'm like, you ever heard of a General Bragg? He goes, most hated general in the Civil War. And there was a book right there for this guy. And you walk in, and they got a big, giant poster thing of this General Bragg and the whole thing. And I'm like, were you Googling that on the way here? I even checked his phone. I accused him of Googling it. And he's like, no. And so that's kind of weird stuff happens to us. We kind of bumble into stuff like that and not know until later, like, oh, we think that means something.
That's so cool. Yeah, when you're doing investigations, I can imagine it's hard to like verify what you're doing, right? You just have to kind of trust that what you're doing is helping, and that you're receiving real information. And it's a lot like that when I do channeling. You know, I don't always know exactly. Like with my channeling that I did, I don't always know. I can't verify it. I can't sit down with a being or an ET and be like, is this true? You know?
Right.
Yeah. So that's hard.
We had a call. One of our listeners wanted to know if you were picking up anything talking to us. If you're picking up on any vibes or anything.
I'm feeling really nervous, but I don't think that's you guys. I think that's me. If I'm really heightened in emotions, are you nervous? When I'm really heightened with emotions, I have a hard time tapping in until I can calm down. Yeah. Why are you
Absolutely.
nervous?
So
Am I picking it?
I want to get a little bit on it because we are running out of time. Phil likes to talk a lot.
Sorry.
That's okay.
So tell us a little bit about the contact with the extraterrestrial deal. I know your videos kind of say it, and we played a few of them, and we've watched a few.
Yeah.
But if you just give us a little, I guess, kind of dialogue about that, because that's one of the things that fascinate us.
Yeah.
You know, one of the ladies that we talk to and stuff that has this communications. I mean, we've been begging her, let us see something. We want to see it.
We want to see something. We want to communicate with them. We want to know if they have a message for us, for mankind, that we can get out. Do it. You know, do we need to go out in the middle of a cornfield somewhere? And you know, I would like to communicate with them, but I don't want to wake up in the middle of the night with one standing there in my bedroom. I'd rather let's kind of walk slowly, ease into this. You know, that'd be kind of terrifying. I don't know if you ever read the Whitley Strieber books, Communion, that was terrifying what happened to him. It's just, and it happens to a lot of people, the abductions and whatnot, and they have to get hypnotized to, realize what happened to them, a lot of them. But
Yeah. So that channeling was weird for me. Like I said, usually I have to sit down with somebody to receive information. And within this past year, it's been more spontaneous in a lot of ways. But this was the first time that it had been an extraterrestrial information that was coming through. So it was a normal Sunday night that this happened. Like, I was getting my kids ready for school the next day, doing the mom things. I'm not tapping into energy. I wasn't working that day even. And I just felt this pressure that I needed to go and do a channel. And it feels a lot like when I sit down to do a reading with somebody and, somebody's father is coming in. It feels like this pressure and I need to speak words. So that went on for a couple of hours until I put my kids to bed. And when I finally sat down in bed, I was like, I need to meditate and see if I can get whatever needs to come out. And it just started to flow. But it was like 45 minutes of information. It all came in images. There was very little words. It was very hard for me to understand exactly what they were saying. They would show me images of things that I didn't really understand. And I would have to ask them, what does this mean? And then they would focus in on a specific part of this thing and they explain that to me. And so I tried to sum it up the best that I absolutely could. But when you're doing channeling, if you're not doing trans channeling, right? So if you're not letting the entity speak through you, I'm picking up information. They're giving me information, but they're not speaking through me. So I have to decode what they're giving me. And if I've never seen it, heard it, felt it, experienced it through movies or whatever, they can't just make things up out of thin air to describe something to me. So it took a long time for me to gather this information. And what it felt like to me was there's a lot of beings that were coming to Earth that were acting as guardian angels to help drop off codes or energies that were going to help us in our purpose and help us elevate and move forward. And that freaked me out because that doesn't happen. They also told me, I was like, cool, will I get to see them? And they were like, some people will see these, some people will not see these, and I will not see them. So I didn't see anything, which was actually devastating because, when you're picking up information like that, you don't have a way of verifying that. You question your sanity. You question whether or not what you're receiving is real. And when I'm sitting down with somebody, I don't have to question that. I got validation from the people that are sitting in front of me, but this was very different and very outside of my norm, very outside of my comfort zone.
Wow.
I don't know if we have time to play that video because it's over 5 minutes long. But we did get a video, another TikTok lady, I don't know if you've seen it, she's confirming what your message you received, and she received some healing from whatever these things are, and there's been over 1,300 different sightings since you had your...
I know exactly who you're talking about. Yes.
Yeah.
She reached out to me. She's been so kind and so validating for me. I'm so thankful for her. Yeah.
That's kind of how we are. We're positive. We don't judge. We like to let everybody talk about and get awareness out there, and
we just like good conversation.
Yeah. And then we try to, we think the world needs to know about these things, because what we deal with a lot is, it's not all black and white. There's a lot of weird stuff out there that, and that's why we like to, sometimes it's controversial and we want to talk about it anyway.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, why keep quiet? We should be having these conversations.
Right. A lot of people want readings.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah. Look, a lot of people in the comments and stuff, they love you. They've loved hearing from you and stuff like that. So we're going to definitely get, we will post out and stuff, your links and stuff and how they can watch you and follow you and if they want to contact you and stuff. And then I didn't know about the podcast. I knew about the TikTok. I'm definitely going to follow the podcast.
Yeah.
Check that out. It's been awesome talking to you. I think you're very genuine and it's just been a fantastic conversation. And I hope we get to talk to you again. Hopefully we can do this again
sometime. Yeah.
Absolutely, we can just kind of dive, deeper and stuff like that.
And show up everywhere, and be like, Candace, you told them. Here they are. even our own government's now starting to admit, yeah, we got these things that outrun our jets. Like 15 feet away, it almost broke up a full flight formation of fighter jets, went right through within 15 feet. Looked like a TikTok flying around, the little candy TikTok flying around, little pill things. They said it was running circles around their jet. Yeah. So, yeah. TikTok on the TikTok. But, yeah, one guy even went to the Senate hearings saying, yeah, they've got non-human bodies, and we've got wreckage from ships, and we've done some reverse engineering, and nobody freaked out. I think the world's ready. I mean, it's like everybody thought there'd be mass panic when they come out and said, yeah, we got aliens. We got, nobody freaked out. It was like another day. So I think people's watched enough Star Wars and Star Trek and been exposed to that kind of stuff since we were kids. I know we're Gen Xers, so we're pretty well ready. If Chewbacca comes walking in, we're ready.
Well, we are going to get off here. Hey, again, love talking to you. I hope we can really make a pipeline with you and talk to you moving forward and stuff like that. I think it'd be awesome.
Send us your
just
links.
Talking to you too. Yeah, absolutely. Get that to us. We'll get that out. We want to get you out there too, because everybody loved you that was watching tonight and stuff. Loved hearing from you and stuff, and they want to kind of talk to you too and stuff like that. So definitely, that will be awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me, and I would love to speak again. This was fun.
Cool.
All right, awesome. All right, well, thank everybody. Like I said, we'll get the links up and stuff so you can get everything going and stuff like that. Get in contact, talk to Candace, watch her videos and stuff because they are awesome. And we will see you next time.
It's Phil Billy and Vinny Voodoo. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. This has been Supernatural Sundays. Come on.